It was Good Friday. I just finished a long week. All I wanted, all I needed was to pull into my apartment complex and park my car. Simple, human, basic. But there it was. A stranger's car, sitting in the last open parking spot like it owned the place. And here's the thing. It wasn't just one car. It wasn't just one spot. It was a group of people who waltzed into my neighborhood, used up what little parking we had, and then just left. Gone. Off to spread good news, I suppose. Meanwhile, the rest of us were stuck circling the lot like vultures over asphalt. But stay with me, because what happened next? Absolutely beautiful. If you've ever felt that boiling, teeth-clenching frustration of someone taking something that wasn't theirs to take and then watched karma show up right on schedule, you are going to love this one. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and buckle up. Because today's story is short, sweet, and so satisfying it almost hurts. Imagine living in an apartment complex where the parking situation is already, generously speaking, a disaster. Management, in what I can only assume was a moment of pure chaos or complete indifference, handed out more parking passes than there are actual parking spaces. Think about that for a second. More permits than spots. It's like printing more tickets than a concert venue has seats, and then acting surprised when people are standing in the parking lot screaming by 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Every single spot in that lot is gone. Taken. Claimed. Done. If you happen to work late, run an errand, or, heaven forbid, have a life that keeps you out past rush hour, you come home to a full lot and the sinking, hollow feeling of knowing you're about to drive around the surrounding streets hunting for somewhere, anywhere, to leave your car. Some nights you find a spot 2 blocks away. Some nights, more. And you walk home tired, a little defeated, and making silent promises to yourself that you'll figure something out eventually. This is just life in the complex. You adapt. You develop this sixth sense of a parking lot hawk. You learn the rhythms. Who leaves early, which spots open up around 7, where the blind corners are that people sometimes miss. It becomes a whole system, an unspoken game that every resident plays just to get through the week. And then, on Good Friday of all days, that system gets blown apart by a fleet of missionaries. Now, I want to be careful here because this story isn't about religion. It's not about faith or lack thereof. It's about something much simpler and much more universal: respect for shared spaces. Because what these folks did that afternoon had nothing to do with their beliefs and everything to do with their complete and total disregard for the people who actually lived there. I'm pulling into the complex just like any other evening. I'm tired. I'm hopeful. I've got that little flicker of optimism that maybe, tonight's the night I actually get a spot, and I see them immediately. A group. Not a couple of people. Not 3 or 4. We're talking 6, 7, maybe 8 individuals, fanned out across the complex with flyers in hand, knocking on doors, chatting with each other, moving through the building like they'd been given a personal invitation by the property manager herself. They were organized, coordinated, comfortable. And their cars? Sitting in our lot, taking up spaces that belong, legally, explicitly, to residents only. Now, here's where it gets particularly maddening. As I'm circling, doing my parking lot ritual of hope and disappointment, I watch the group start to filter back out. They're regrouping near one of the cars, pulling more flyers from the trunk, laughing, chatting, completely unbothered. And then, as a unit, they walk out of the complex. Not to leave. No. To go next door, to the neighboring apartment complex. And then, presumably, the one after that. They're making a route of it. And they left their car behind. I want you to sit with that for a moment. They left their car in our lot, a permit-only parking lot, I should mention, with signs posted everywhere that are impossible to miss. And they strolled off to continue their afternoon like they'd done absolutely nothing wrong. Now, I could feel the irritation rising in my chest. That specific kind of frustration that's hot and sharp and sits right behind your ribs. You know the feeling. It's the feeling of watching someone cut in line, of being talked over in a meeting, of having something small but yours taken away by someone who didn't even stop to consider that it mattered. It's not just about the parking spot. It's never really just about the parking spot. It's about being seen, about the implicit understanding that we share spaces and therefore we share responsibility for them. And when someone walks into your world and takes without asking, without thinking, without so much as a glance at the enormous signs plastered on every post in the lot that say, and I quote, "Permit parking only. Violators will be towed at their own expense," something in you just snaps. Not dramatically, not loudly, just quietly, firmly, and with enormous clarity. I drove to the leasing office. I walked in, calm as you please, and I explained what I'd seen. A group of vehicles parked without permits, residents unable to find spaces, signs being thoroughly, enthusiastically ignored. The office managers listened. They nodded. And because this complex, whatever its many flaws around the whole issuing more permits than spots situation, does actually have its act together when it comes to enforcement, they made a call. You see, there's a security company. They monitor the lot throughout the day and overnight, checking plates, checking permits, maintaining order. And when they find a vehicle that doesn't belong, no pass, no permission, they don't send a strongly worded letter. They don't leave a passive-aggressive note under the windshield wiper. They call a tow truck. And then I waited. I'm not going to pretend I casually went about my evening and forgot about it. I watched. Okay? I fully, consciously, deliberately positioned myself where I could see, and I watched. Because sometimes justice needs a witness. Sometimes you need to see it happen with your own eyes to really, truly feel it. The tow truck arrived with the quiet efficiency of someone who has done this 1,000 times and will do it 1,000 more. No drama, no announcement, just a professional doing their job, doing it legally, doing it because the rules that exist for a reason were broken by people who thought those rules simply didn't apply to them. The hook went under the car. The lift engaged. And that vehicle, parked in my lot, my spot, by people who didn't live there, didn't have a permit, and didn't bother to read any of the approximately 11 signs warning them of exactly this outcome, was removed. I exhaled. It was such a specific kind of relief. Not vindictive, exactly. More like correct. Like a picture that had been slightly crooked on the wall, finally getting straightened. Like the world briefly making sense the way it's supposed to. Within an hour of walking into that leasing office, I drove my car into the last remaining spot in the complex. I parked. I turned off the engine, and I just sat there for a moment in the quiet. Somewhere out there, a group of people finished their rounds, walked back toward our lot, and found empty asphalt where their car used to be. No note, no apology, just the cold, honest consequence of parking where you're not allowed to park. Did they think the rules didn't apply to them? Maybe. Did they assume a quick missionary run through a few apartment complexes was harmless enough to overlook? Probably. Did they factor in the residents who would come home tired and frustrated to a full lot made fuller by their car? Almost certainly not. And that, more than anything, is the whole point. It wasn't personal. I didn't know these people. I have no problem with what they believe or what they were out there doing. But intention doesn't erase impact. You can be doing something you genuinely believe is good and still, in the process, be inconsiderate. Still be the reason someone has to walk 2 blocks home in the dark. And when there are bright yellow signs telling you that your parking choice has consequences, the surprise should be exactly 0 when those consequences arrive. I walked inside. Happy Good Friday indeed. Here's what I keep thinking about, even now. The tow truck didn't care it was Good Friday. The permit-only sign didn't take the afternoon off. Rules exist because shared spaces require shared respect, and when that respect is absent, consequences tend to fill the gap. Karma, coincidence, tow truck operators, call it whatever you want. But there is something deeply, universally satisfying about watching the world quietly, efficiently correct itself. And that is what a perfect, petty, perfectly justified Good Friday looks like. If this story scratched that itch, you know the one. Smash that like button and let me know in the comments. What's the most satisfying moment of accidental karma you've ever witnessed? Did you report it, watch it unfold, or just smile quietly and walk away? Drop it down below. I read every single one. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Hit that button right now because we've got stories like this dropping every week. Justice is served fresh here. I'll see you in the next one.